By the way, shout out to all the YouTube reactors. Yes. It's positive. Everything they do is like super positive. And it's not like, you don't see YouTube reactors being like, this shit's fucking terrible. You don't see that.
Well, you haven't seen my reaction yet. No, kidding. Kidding.
It's all, if they don't have anything nice to say, they don't say it. And it's just, it's a whole like portal of like positivity. You know?
Yeah, I never thought about it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is probably the best advice ever. I mean, not just on YouTube. If you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything.
It like combats all the negativity, you know what I mean?
That's probably why I like it so much.
When you watch somebody naturally reacting to a song and you see their body kind of moving and they're like, it like makes you enjoy it more.
My friend Greg turned me on to No Life Shack.
He's great.
And it was just, it literally, he sent it to me because he was just like, this kid is so fun. And he was doing metal videos at the time, and he sent me a couple metal videos that he had done, and then I subscribed to his channel, started watching it. And so then when you hit his channel, you know, it's just like,
oh, let's go, yeah.
Worlds colliding, you know.
No Life Shack, what's up, No Life Shack? Shout out Tulip Mafia, all the other YouTube reactors, man.
Yeah.
Don't you just love how he deals out this credit and praise? I love that in a person, when they can praise someone else that easily.
Love it.
Yeah.
You know, you put it in...
And you know, doing a reaction, or rather an analysis from my point of view as a creativity coach, let me say, I think I'm safe. Like, my channel is so small and so niched down that I think we can have these little videos as our secret.
That's great context for it, man, because I hadn't thought about it that way. I didn't quite realize why I go down those rabbit holes, and that's exactly
because it's positive.
Yeah.
It's positive. It's not like, nobody wants to watch like a bunch of people being like, this is fucking garbage. You know, like it gets to a point to where, you know, like you gotta stop, man. You gotta, like, we need some positivity, you know?
Yeah.
So.
And you learn about, it reminds me as a journalist of more sort of classical criticism, where you start to learn more about the person who's reporting on all this different stuff, and you kind of get to know their personality and their likes and dislikes.
Yeah.
And then you can gauge how they're reacting to something versus how you might feel about it. And yeah, that's like how it should be.
Yeah.
That's
Nobody
conversation
wants to,
should be.
Anybody that enjoys watching somebody get bashed is not like somebody I want to hang out with. You know what I mean?
Anybody that enjoys watching someone get bashed is not somebody I want to hang out with. This is so good. And he actually just revealed not just one, but two big issues. So allow me to go in there. Artists, or human beings in general, but artists in particular, need to figure out how they are going to matter in the world. And like how they are going to make meaning. My take on meaning is that it is not something that is somewhere out there in the world, like an Easter egg, and if you're lucky enough, you'll find it. Meaning, the way that I see it, is something that you create, that is actually a blessing, because it means that you are 100% responsible for the amount of meaning in your life. If you feel or hear yourself saying, my life is meaningless, then I actually want to challenge you to figure out how you can fill it with meaning. And for artists, their primary way of making meaning is through their art. And at the core of every meaning-making process, there's a value. If you are stuck in a seemingly meaningless life, ask yourself what your values are. And that does not have to be something like high up there, like truth, beauty, goodness. I mean, don't get me wrong, those are amazing concepts. They are huge and abstract and might overwhelm you. You can start with something small, like, and this is where I'm landing the plane, when you think about how to treat people, I think we can agree that, like, in general, it is better to be kind than to be unkind. And there you have your value. And when Ronnie says, I don't want to hang out with someone who enjoys watching someone else get bashed, what he is actually saying is, I value kindness, positivity, and respect. And the second point that he's making, and this is extremely important, is he puts this value into action because he says, I'm not going to hang out with somebody who disagrees with me on that value. So you figure out your values and you intend to live by them. And I say intend because it's not always possible. Sometimes it's not possible, but sometimes it's really easy. And sometimes it's really just, I'm not hanging out with someone who enjoys trashing others. Living according to your values, it's not something pompous. It's something that will feel very natural to you.
It's not, there's already the news, there's already like a million angry people at Pepsi for an upside down cross or something. I don't know, like the flavor of the week kind of thing. You know?
Yeah. Can I just say one thing about absurdity? What Ronnie just pointed out is an absurdity. People getting angry about an upside down cross. And I am aware that this is dangerous territory. I'm going there nevertheless, because the way Ronnie just said that shows me that he's actually somebody who sees the absurdities of life, and that doesn't necessarily make life easier. There are so many people who find comfort in, say, religion, and then there are those who see the absurdity of religion. And that comfort is robbed from them. It doesn't have to be religion, it can be a healthcare system that keeps people sick because there's more money in disease than in health. Absurdity is really everywhere, and most people live in this somewhat blissful ignorance, but those people cannot be artists.
You know, we need positivity, you know, in that sense, especially in music. You know, I feel like everybody's competing, and there's not many friends anymore in music. It feels like everybody's just out for themselves, and it seems that way.
There's not many friends anymore in music. This is an absurdity of the highest measure. Turning music or turning art into a business, that is absurd in itself. And pitching artists against each other, which goes completely against their nature, because art by nature is generous. This scarcity, this thinking there is only room for one, it is so artificial, and it's man-made. It has nothing to do with the nature of art and the heart of an artist.
The cinematic thing. I mean, you've always painted vivid pictures in your songs. Like, I think of you as a storyteller, relating these incidents from your life or these snapshots or the way that you're feeling in a certain time or whatever. And I think that's what people relate to a lot. And, you know, image has been part of it, and you've always been interested in fashion and stuff like that. But I'm really digging these last few years how you've really put an emphasis on the cinematic side. Mm-hmm. And this like series of videos that go from cyberpunk to goth to, you know, all these different areas visually.
It's unacceptable to not give 110% and put money into something.
Do you see that? I have goosebumps. It is unacceptable not to give 110%.
Instead of like, I would rather put money into a music video than into a car. I'll tell you that right now. I would trade my car for an amazing music video. I think that's the most important thing, because that lasts the longest, you know. So it's got to be like that for me.
Without jumping.
I appreciate him so much. And beside that, he reveals another part of his meaning map, of his value map. He chooses legacy and eternity over possession, which again points to the generosity that I was talking about earlier, because he'd rather make something that he can share with us than buying something for himself. And he's adamant about it. Like, it is unacceptable not to give 110%.
10 steps ahead. Through the process of conceptualizing these videos and coming up with these storylines and everything, is this giving you the itch to want to do more long form visual storytelling?
I think people have ADD right now, so I feel like the shorter you can go, the better, just for people to
so not so much a movie or a TV series yet, but
maybe
music videos.
Maybe. Oh, you mean like an actual movie?
Yeah.
Maybe.
It almost seems like you could.
Did you see that smile? I bet he just saw like the whole movie, the whole TV series in his head. That is beautiful.
String together some of what you already have, and
Yeah.
there's a story there.
Yeah. I don't want to say too much and then some other band steals my idea like they always do. So
Yeah.
maybe I shouldn't say it like that, but it's happened.
There's definitely been. You're one of those artists where you get to see those fun moments of a negative reaction that turns into a positive.
Yeah.
That turns into imitation, and then all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute, but that person was criticizing what Ronnie was doing 2 years ago.
And I've done it. I get so inspired, and then it turns into me. I imitated. Like I loved Guns N' Roses' '80s hair metal, and I ended up with a Joan Jett haircut. You know what I mean? So, I mean, I'm not the first to do it, and they weren't the first. The New York Dolls were the first, or one of the first.
Sure, you can always go back and back.
Even
and
back
yeah.
and back and back. So, for me to even like get upset that somebody's imitating me is just me getting. I should be upset at myself because I've done it too. So.
Someone said once, Coldplay is.
What really strikes me here is you can see the amount of thinking and the looking at things and himself that Ronnie has done. When he says me getting upset with someone who imitates me means I have to get upset with myself because I did it as well. There is a ton of self-reflection embedded in that sentence. And secondly, I think we've all heard that imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. I believe that is true. And actually, I read somewhere on the internet that there was an earlier version of that saying, which was imitation is a kind of artless flattery. And when it is done carelessly, yes, then I would say it's artless. But if you take something, including its roots and its origin, and you take it and you make it into your own, then I think there is art in it, and it becomes something bigger that you now share with the originator. I hope that makes sense.
Is Radiohead meets U2, or it's like you can break down these mathematical equations, but there's something about the way things are combined that they haven't been combined in that way before.
Yeah.
And then who you are as a person, as an artist,
Personality comes out.
out. So
yeah, personality is such an important factor. And the great thing about that is you can always improve it. I mean, you're not stuck with your personality like you're stuck with, say, your height. You can always change your personality. It's completely in your hands. It's in your control. If you're concerned about being original, then the best thing you can do is staying true to yourself. Julia Cameron, the author of The Artist's Way, she actually says something like, we are all our own countries, and each of these countries has their own interesting places to visit. And from that idea comes originality, because all you have to do is to map out your country, your territory. So in that sense, originality is the process of staying true to yourself. And speaking of originality, if you see somewhere on this page like a red button that says something like subscribe, why don't you click that and make my day? Much appreciated.
And I'm aware that my voice is distinct, and I'm very grateful for that.
So with this revamp, I mean, it's got to be fun as an artist. I always think to get a second bite at the apple. When directors go back and do like the director's cut of their film, and you're able to kind of revisit what you were trying to say and spin it in a new way, or maybe complete a thought that wasn't quite finished the way you wanted. What's the appeal for you taking these old songs and stripping them down and rebuilding?
Just to show how much better I got. I mean, it's fucking insane. You know what I mean? I straight up, I'm not even talking shit. It obviously, if you haven't heard it, when you hear it, you'll understand. If you go back and listen to the old one, you hear the new one, you'll be like, yeah, he's gotten a little better. It just overall, the composition of it, it's like Phantom of the Opera, and it's
bigger, it's broader, it's more thematic and sort of.
Yeah, it's just looking back to how much control I had on my vocals then to now, it's just very pleasing for me, like because I work so hard at it.
Yeah. I think this is something that every vocal coach on YouTube agrees with him. I would say that his 110% work ethic shows in his vocal abilities as well.
So
Yeah, and I know that's always been important to you, and I think that's been a distinguishing thing.
yeah, it's super important to be good live, and it's you know what the best thing ever is? I'm gonna look right at the camera, is when Losing My Life is a good example. We have a live version, and the comments when they're like, "This is fake," and I'm like, "Thank you so much,
Yes.
man, because this shit's real, man. That is my voice. That is me, dude. That is crazy." And I see a lot of them. They're like, "There's no fucking way." This, and it's just, it just makes me so happy. That means I'm doing my job. You know what I mean?
It makes me so happy when people talk shit about me. That's beautiful. That is actually a way of reframing, like taking a negative comment and turning it into a compliment. It is a very healthy way of dealing with it. Are you familiar with the concept of reframing? I just did an event on loneliness, on overcoming loneliness and turning it into solitude. And almost every speaker, every expert that I interviewed, they were talking about reframing. Reframing basically means to look at something from a different perspective. The classic example would be a traffic jam. Your first impulse is probably like to get mad and to get worried because you're going to be late and people are going to be mad at you. But there is nothing you can do. You are stuck. So the only thing that you have power over is your own thoughts. If you reframe, "I'm stuck in traffic, this is bad," into "I'm stuck in traffic, this is great. Now I can listen to Falling in Reverse or to an audiobook or whatever it is," that reframe changes everything. Turning something into art, making art, is actually a reframe. We take something and we make it into a song or a poem or a dance. And that way we change our role, we change the part we play in it, we go from victim to creator. It is very powerful.
So
walking into your house today, one of the first things I saw was and I think you might have posted this.
Gotham City outside.
Well, I mean, once I got inside. But yes, Wayne Manor from the outside was pretty great. But the Freddie Mercury that you have up.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things that I was struck by with this revamp, is like this sort of rock opera, like big vocal and the dynamics. And that's one thing that I personally, as a fan, appreciate about your voice.
Yeah, that picture my dad gave to me because all the comments on The Drug of Me is Reimagined are that I'm Freddie Mercury. So, and it made him like very happy. So he sent that to me for my birthday. I took a picture of it, posted on Instagram, and so many people were mad because my dad appreciated that people said that I reminded them of Freddie Mercury.
How?
I was like, you guys were mad at my dad.
It's so interesting because the concept of absurdity and calling people on it creeps in here again. You might think of calling out absurdity as calling people on their bullshit. And that's what Ronnie's doing here. So you're mad at something my dad thinks. How absurd is that?
It was cool though. It's cool to even be compared on any platform to Freddie Mercury. He's literally iconic, man.
That's the ambition that you have, is to do things that are to that scale.
Going back to the idea of being a country, then Freddie Mercury Land is Freddie Mercury Land. And there might be mountains in there, and rivers and forests, and the mountains might be a little bit higher, or with Freddie, they are actually considerable higher than the average mountains. And then there's Ronnie Radke Land, and it also has mountains and forests and rivers, and both places are great places to visit. At both places, you have these stunning views of a sunset, for example.
Because when I think about Queen, I think, and it's not to say you're trying to be Freddie Mercury or anything.
Yeah,
I'm just
no
saying,
way.
like, but that ambition and that idea of like, we'll do a rock opera, we'll do this.
Ronnie doesn't have to be or try to be, and I think he does not. He doesn't try to be Freddie Mercury. He appreciates the mountains in Freddie Mercury Land, and he's very aware of his own mountains. And the cool thing is, as an artist, you can literally grow those mountains, like by doing vocal training. You can change the landscape of your country. I love that image. You can tell, I guess.
Yes, we'll do that. We'll do a song with David Bowie. Well, you know.
Yeah, it's natural. It's a natural thing for me. It's like, well, you're supposed to do another follow-up to Popular Monster, man. Why didn't you do that? It's like, because it's not natural to me. It's not natural. Okay, I'll do another rap song with metal breakdown in it. Okay, maybe next time. Right now, I want to do this Phantom of the Opera and showcase what my vocals can do.
Okay, now I have to fight goosebumps again. Natural, that's what I wanted to talk about. When something comes natural to an artist, that is actually the opposite of being blocked. And in our culture, sometimes people make it sound like the normal or the natural state of an artist is to be blocked. It is very much not. The natural state of creativity is this flow. Since I mentioned reframing earlier, when you think of being blocked and actual blocks that block your way, those are pretty hard, heavy obstacles. And Eric Meisel, he offers us the idea of considering something not as a block, but something smaller that is easier to handle, and he offers to call that a disinclination. I like how that shifts something in my mind. It's like a disinclination. I can handle that. It sounds really easy to do that.
Christopher Nolan, his movies, they make me feel a certain way. That's probably why he's so successful, because I'm not the only one. You know, just the way that the chords move when a certain scene is cinematography is happening, and it makes me feel.
Yeah, this is something very obvious, and let me say it nevertheless. Ronnie is very visual. He's a very visual person, and that is not true for every musician. That's actually something I already had in my head when we were talking about the music videos, spending money on a music video rather than a car. That is his call, and that's his way of expressing his creativity. And there are a ton of musicians who don't care that much, who are not that much visually inclined, and they are not that much interested in visual storytelling. And that's actually when you get your off-the-rack music videos. But it doesn't mean they are not true artists or that they care less. I mean, definitely not in all cases. If you look, for example, at Mark Tremonti and his band Alter Bridge, and there's a connection through Michael Elvis Baskant, who's a producer, and he's worked with Ronnie and Falling in Reverse, as well as with Alter Bridge and with Mark and Miles' solo projects. Mark Tremonti said in an interview that he hates doing music videos, that he really doesn't enjoy making them. Does that make him a lesser artist? No. He is always looking for ways to improve his sound, and he's an amp nerd. His words, not mine. He's super generous towards his fans. That is where he's invested the 110%. None of them is better than the other. And now I actually really want to hear some Tremonti songwriting with Ronnie's voice. That would be great.
You feel a certain way. That's what I go off of. And I'm so glad that I never learned music theory, because I feel like you lose that creative element in a sense. You might be like amazing at like knowing the laws of music, but for me, too much music theory dampens your creativity. And because I go off of all feeling. I learned that.
Yeah. Linking this back to how creating is natural to him, this is really remarkable. I don't necessarily agree 100%. I think that music theory has the ability to enhance your art, but that is my opinion. What Ronnie's doing is obviously working extremely well, so keep it up.
The piano off of feeling, guitar off of feeling, any type of drums, anything. Writing music was just feeling how I felt, you know. So I don't ever want that to ever go away, because if I feel this way, then at least one or two other people, when they hear, are going to feel like that.
I'm a little bit overwhelmed because I was imagining how much he actually feels. Can you imagine the amount of feelings that he experiences to be able to write that kind of music and perform it and transfer the emotions to you, to us? He feels a lot and he feels deeply, and for sure that doesn't make his life easier. It makes it richer, for sure. And I think we are really lucky that he's able to share these riches with us. And I think those should be closing words, the closing words for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.